White House right now.
But I think he's going to do very well.
Next, we have Mauricio Claver-Carrón to be your special envoy to Latin America, sir.
Okay, good man. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have retired General Keith Kellogg to be your special envoy on Russian-Ukraine issues.
We've made a lot of progress on Russia, Ukraine. We'll see what happens, but a lot of progress has been made. We've got to stop that ridiculous war. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have designation of Rick Grinnell, to be your envoy for special missions.
I sent him to California to turn on the water. We turned it on. It was not easy because we had to go through a lot of environmentalists that are causing a lot of problems. And we have billions of gallons of water. It was on 3 days ago. You probably saw. It should have gotten a lot of press, but it didn't get much. All we're doing is giving Los Angeles and the entire state of California virtually unlimited water, which they could have done 5 years ago, which I told them they should do, but the environmentalists stopped them. And we opened it, and we did it regardless of the state. And now the state seems to be very happy. I spoke with Gavin Newsom, and he's very happy. I almost called him by the other name, didn't I? My little nickname for him. But I think they're all happy. They have a lot of water in California. Too bad we didn't have it about 2 months ago, right?
Mr. President,
that was, by the way, that was a big move. We have, I don't know if you saw the pictures that were released of the water pouring down from the Pacific Northwest and Canada and lots of other places. And it's a pretty amazing sight.
Mr. President, Rick Grinnell had a big Friday trip as well.
He had a very big Friday trip. You're right. We'll talk about that. He's a good man, Rick.
Lastly, sir, we have a designation of Mark Burnett as your special envoy to the United Kingdom.
You know, Mark Burnett is figure he should be good. He's certainly done a great job. Friend of mine and very talented guy. We have very talented people working for us. I'll hold that one up because Mark gets so much television. We'll hold it up, right? He'll be thrilled to see it. He's going to do a good job.
Thank you, sir. Next, your administration has smashed records for appointing large numbers of highly qualified, capable people at all levels of the federal government. These are 28 sub-cabinet level officials being appointed to a number of different departments and agencies. Some of them are quite important positions like departmental general counsels, but these are people who have been pre-vetted and have received your approval previously.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, this is an executive order. This charges your Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and your Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, to begin a process that will hopefully result in the creation of an American sovereign wealth fund.
It's a very exciting event. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had. We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth, the people, my predecessors. We're creating a lot of wealth. Scott, maybe you'd like to say something about it, and I'd ask also Howard to say something about it.
Yes, sir. This is very exciting. We're going to stand this thing up within the next 12 months. We're going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet for the American people. We're going to put the assets to work, and I think it's going to be very exciting. We're going to study best practices as done around the world. It'll be a combination of liquid assets, assets that we have in this country as we work to bring them out for the American people.
The extraordinary size and scale of the U.S. government and the business it does with companies should create value for American citizens. If we are going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe we should have some warrants and some equity in these companies and have that grow for the help of the American people. So I bring all these things together. I think Scott and I will create an amazing sovereign wealth fund for you, sir.
So other countries have sovereign wealth funds, and they're much smaller countries, and they're not the United States. We have tremendous potential in this country, tremendous. You're seeing that, what's happened just in a short period of time. And as an example, TikTok, we're going to be doing something perhaps with TikTok, and perhaps not. If we make the right deal, we'll do it, otherwise we won't. But I have the right to do that, and we might put that in the sovereign wealth fund, whatever we make, or if we do a partnership with very wealthy people, a lot of options, but we could put that as an example in the fund, and we have a lot of other things that we could put in the fund. And I think in a short period of time, we'd have one of the biggest funds, and some of them are pretty large, I must tell you. Some of like the Saudi Arabia fund is on the large side, but eventually we'll catch it. But we're going to create a lot of wealth for the fund, and I think it's about time that this country had a sovereign wealth fund, and these two gentlemen and some others are going to work with them very closely, and they'll be heading it up, and they're going to do a great job. Two highly respected people that have done unbelievably well in the world, in the real world. So that's a big deal, huh?
Yes, sir. I think it's going to create value and be of great strategic importance.
Mr. President, why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him, and it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs, and we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. Some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas, and many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous. And they're finding tremendous waste, really waste more than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse could be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. But they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending. You've been writing about some of it, frankly, and some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed because he's running, obviously, a big company. It has nothing to do, if there's a conflict, that we won't let him get near it. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it. But he has some very good ideas, and we have a lot of very other talented people also. We're bringing in the most talented people in the world. By the way, we just unrelated, but we have two of the most talented people in the world, the legendary Rupert Murdoch and Larry Ellison. So they are two legends in business, publishing, and probably every other. Rupert is Larry pretty much in a class by himself, right? I mean, although you may have a couple of bucks more, I don't know, but Rupert is in a class by himself. He's an amazing guy, and Larry is Larry. Larry's one of the most serious players anywhere in the world. So it's an honor to have you. This has nothing to do with you people, but they're here, and I thought it would be appropriate. I'm sure you didn't recognize them. If you're all going crazy, they're saying, "What are they doing here?"
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, on the tariffs, is there any chance that Canada or China could also get out of the tariffs after you struck a deal with Mexico?
Well, nobody's out with Mexico. We had a great talk with Mexico, and we had President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much, and we've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens from coming in. I think we've lost 200,000 people on average a year for many years, much higher than the 100,000, could be even closer to 300,000. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But we have a very good relationship. I also spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, and we had a good talk in the morning, but I did ask him a couple of questions, like, banks aren't allowed to do business in Canada. Canada is very tough. Canada is very, we're not treated well by Canada, and we have to be treated well. Banks are not, as an example, allowed. Did you know that American banks are not allowed to do business in Canada? Can you believe that? And that's one of many things, and we talked about it, and I think we'll win most of the subjects. But for some reason, a lot of things have been very unfair with Canada. I noticed that in the first term. You deal with people, and after a while you begin to realize, like you learn that Larry Ellison's very tough to do business with, okay? He's a very tough guy. I mean, I'm sure you're shocked to hear that. But Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough to do business with. And we can't let them take advantage of the U.S. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part. They don't take our cars. They make cars, but they basically don't take our cars. And, we don't need, and look, I think we're going to have another good conversation today. We're actually speaking at 3 o'clock again. But we don't need them to make our cars. We don't need them to give us lumber. We don't need them for agricultural products because we have all the agriculture we need. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part, our milk and dairy, etc. A little bit they do, but not much. We take theirs. And as far as cars are concerned, they took in a big percentage, almost 19% of the market. And, I wouldn't mind making our cars in the United States. So we have a problem there. I'd like to make our cars in the U.S. We don't need Canada to make our cars. With that being said, we're going to have another call at 3 o'clock. We had a call this morning. It was a pretty good call, I'd say. So the call with Mexico went very well in the sense that they're very strong now on the border. They're going to put soldiers there. So, actually, they're best military soldiers, and they're going to be at the border, 10,000. That's a lot of soldiers. And they want to protect it also. They don't want people running through Mexico, coming through Mexico to come into our country. So they're going to do that. And then we're going to talk about other things over the next 30 days, we're going to have Scott, Howard, and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, lead the delegation. And we're going to have a big negotiation with Mexico. I'll be involved too, and President Sheinbaum will be involved to see whether or not we can work something out on the tariffs.
What about China, Senator?
China will be speaking to China probably over the next 24 hours.
On fentanyl in China, President Trump.
We don't want fentanyl coming into our country. Now, we had another big thing, speaking of China. China's involved with the Panama Canal. They won't be for long. And that's the way it has to be. Marco just got back, as you know. He's in the process of coming back. I guess he's almost back by now. And he had a very long conversation with the leader of Panama, the respected man, and some others, the entire leadership group. And we're trying to work a deal on the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal was given foolishly years ago to... It shouldn't have been happened years ago to Panama by Jimmy Carter and the group. We lost 38,000 people building the Panama Canal, like one of the great wonders of the world. It's the biggest job we've ever built, the biggest project we've ever built in this country, dollar-wise and every other way. 38,000 people died, Americans, all men, just about, laborers and construction people. They went to Panama. The mosquito got them. Between mosquito and snakes, we lost 38,000 people. It was the most expensive project ever built by the United States. The biggest, most expensive project we ever built 110 years ago. If you bring it up to now, it would have been the equivalent of $2 trillion. The most expensive we ever built, and we gave it away for $1, okay? We gave it away essentially for nothing. And we either want it back or we're going to get something very strong, or we're going to take it back. And China will be dealt with. And we didn't give that to China, we gave it to Panama. We shouldn't have given it to Panama, but Panama, as you know, has violated the agreement, totally violated the agreement. So that's in the process right now, but they did have a very good meeting with the head of Panama.
In addition to tariffs on China, could you say your current thinking about whether China should be forced to pay reparations both for fentanyl deaths and the million COVID?
No, I haven't talked about that, but they do have tariffs. Honestly, nobody, the amount of money that was lost and most importantly, the lives lost because of COVID is not something that anybody could ever even imagine. It's probably $60 trillion, and all the countries in the world don't have $60 trillion. The amount of death and the amount of destruction and the amount of money lost is probably $60 trillion. I had it figured by people about 3 months ago. It figured out. Nobody knows what the real number is, but it's almost an infinite number. The damage done, but I have not discussed that. What I have discussed is we'll have some good meetings with China. We have meetings planned, and we'll see what happens. But that was just an opening salvo. If we can't make a deal with China, then the tariffs will be very, very substantial. Okay, I'm going to sign this one.
Sir, this is